In today's video, we're going to talk about the brand new Kill Team Universal equipment that's been previewed over on Warcom, and why it may not be quite what it seems. Stay tuned for that. So we're going to start off with some general understanding of what equipment is. So I'm going to read a little bit of the article and I'm going to give my thoughts on it. First, everyone's favourite portable day ruiners, grenades. If you ever loaded up your favourite operative with crack grenades and then watched him get shot to pieces by a sniper before he pulled the pin, you'll know the heartbreak of one of those wasted equipment points. With these tokens, the new edition ensures you'll never lose out on some vital equipment again. Instead of spending equipment points to outfit individual miniatures, you'll now select up to 4 pieces of equipment for your entire team from a universal set, that's these, plus additional options unique to your kill team. Anyone can be the lucky lad that gets to use it, and in the case of grenades, you get 2 uses. So, I don't actually want to talk about grenades yet, that's going to be the next slide. What I want to talk about on this page is some of the things that's confirmed for us. So, we learn that equipment points are shared between universal equipment and team-specific equipment, so you get 4 points to pick from both the universal list and the team-specific list, however you want to spend them. Remember that you can get a 5th equipment point, we know that from the scouting step, so we've seen this card, scouting step equip, select 1 additional equipment option. It can't be an option you've already selected for initiative equip beats ploy. So from that we can guess we can't pick the same thing twice generally, because this scouting step card has that stipulation on as well, so we're assuming that's a general stipulation, and we can have 4 or we can pick this card and have 5. Now a quick note about additional existing teams equipment. So existing teams equipment is going to have to be totally reworked, because existing teams equipment is largely predicated on different miniatures holding different pieces of war gear. And I don't want to be accused of being a doomsayer. I do doomsay occasionally on the channel, but it's never out of a place of trying to generate anti-hype. It's just out of a place of trying to prepare people. I could really see the old existing teams not having equipment lists, and that being the little, there's usually one of these with Games Workshop, that being the little thing that they use to try and get people to push people towards buying the new teams, right? Because otherwise they are going to have to rewrite all the equipment lists, and I think it's going to be worth thinking about which teams are really hurt if they lose their equipment, because some teams manifestly don't care because they were taking crack grenades and climbing equipment and things like that anyway, and smoke grenades. And crack grenades, climbing equipment, and smoke grenades are essentially things that are now part of the universal equipment list. But I'm thinking about those teams that were taking the stabilizers, or whatever they were called, on their heavy bolters, right? So they weren't heavy, those kinds of pieces of equipment, or Kroot with their meat, for example. Things like that. If they're gone, let me know in the comments, what teams do you think are really going to suffer if they lose access to their equipment and just get this generic equipment list as their only option for their 4 equipment points? I think it's going to affect some teams more than others. That said, the existing teams could get brand new equipment lists. They could write those for the existing teams. We simply don't know. The other thing we've learned that's generic to equipment is, and people were suspecting this, is all the equipment is team-wide, including grenades. So if you have crack grenades, then 2 of your models get to throw a crack grenade, and there's not really anything your opponent can do about that, apart from kill every single one of your dudes. Okay, so that's cool. It makes grenades a lot better. Not only because you get 2 for 1 equipment point, but also because anybody can throw them. So let's talk about grenades. So you get those 2 uses, and you get 2 choices of grenades in the universal equipment set. You get explosive grenades and utility grenades. The former are self-explanatory. You can either choose 2 frag grenades for soft things, 2 crack grenades for hard targets, or 1 of each. And then they've actually given us the full rules text for smoke grenades and stun grenades. So this is kind of the meat of the article. I'm going to read this text for you now. So stun grenades, one action point, okay. Select 1 enemy operative visible to within 6 of this operative. That operative and each other operative within an inch of it takes a stun test. For an operative to take a stun test, roll 1d6. If the result is a 3-up, Subtract 1 from its APL stat until the end of its next activation. An operative cannot perform its action while within control range of an enemy operative, or if you have reached the total number of times your team can perform it. Okay, that's stun grenades. I'm going to talk a little bit about stun grenades. I still don't really like them. I didn't like them in the last edition, just because there's that 1/3 chance that you spend your equipment point and it does nothing. Now, I can see there will be situations where stun grenades could be really powerful. If you're playing it in Into the Dark, which we know is still going to be a thing, then perhaps you've got some corridors where you can see your people are going to get really clustered in this corridor, and I'm going to throw a stun grenade, and it's likely that I'm going to hit multiple targets, and especially if you're playing against an APL 2 team, you could really cripple them with a good, well-placed stun grenade by making a bunch of their guys have to go down to AP1. But I am, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm not, as I said, I'm not a pro player, so do tell me in the comments, Phil, you're wrong about stun grenades. And I know that in the exhibition match, somebody used a stun grenade, right? Made a big deal about using a stun grenade in the first turn to stop a forward deploying Vespid on a double vantage point. But still, that 3-up just scares me off. I don't know why, it just does. I know that you're likely to roll a 3-up, and we have, in fairness, we have CP rerolls. So if the stun grenade is really important to you, CP reroll it. I just don't think I'm a high enough level player that I could look at a team that I was playing against and the scenario and the map and go, I'm going to need a stun grenade in this game and take it. Whereas I like smoke grenades, so I'll read smoke grenades. Smoke grenade. Place one of your smoke grenade markers within 6 of this operative. It must be visible to this operative, or on vantage terrain of a terrain feature that's visible to this operative. Makes sense? Okay. The marker creates an area of smoke 1 inch horizontally and unlimited height vertically, but not below it. When an operative is wholly within an area of smoke, it's obscured to operatives more than 2 inches from it, and vice versa. In addition, whenever an operative is shooting at an enemy operative wholly within an area of smoke, ignore the piercing weapon rule unless they're within 2 of each other. In the ready step of the next strategy phase, roll 1d3, remove that smoke grenade marker after a number of activations equal to that d3 have been completed, or at the end of the turning point, whichever comes first. An operative cannot perform this action while within the control range of an enemy operative, or if you have reached a total number of times your kill team can perform it. So, okay, overall, cracks seem very powerful. 2 cracks, right? Or potentially 2 smokes. Quite like smokes, okay? It's nice they're not held by a specific character. Smoke grenades are interesting now. So when you're within the smoke, you're obscured. Now, a reminder that obscured has changed. So obscured now seems to be, and this is from the exhibition match, okay, incoming crits become hits, and 1 incoming hit is removed. Right? And now, because it's a smoke grenade, you get kind of obscured plus, right? Because you also get to ignore piercing. But it only helps you when you're actually within the smoke. Unless I'm being profoundly stupid, and it's always possible, there doesn't seem to be anything here about smoke obscuring. So, seemingly you can shoot through a smoke cloud for free, which is different to how they work in the current edition of Kill Team. Like, there's nothing in these rules that would say that the smoke isn't within it doesn't say that a smoke cloud is obscuring. It says that while an operative is wholly within an area of smoke, it is obscured. And vice versa. So if you're inside the area of smoke, you can't... While an operative is wholly within an area of smoke, it's obscured to operatives more than 2 inches from it, and vice versa. Yeah. So if you're inside the smoke circle, and shooting out a faraway thing, it's obscured, and things that are shooting you, you're obscured. But if you have the scenario where the smoke grenade in the middle of a road, and you're on one side of the smoke grenade, and the person shooting you is on the other side of the smoke grenade, it seems to do absolutely nothing. That's my reading of the rules. Now, that seems slightly counterintuitive to me. Yeah, and that seems different to how it works in Kill Team right now. But so they're a little bit weaker. They're more for like detonating at your feet, basically, like Batman, and having the smoke obscure literally you, than sort of throwing forwards and obscuring an open bit of corridor. I will also say, yeah, the smoke hangs out for D3 activations to the next turning point, so if you're in a cloud of smoke, it's not going to dissipate, and then if you've lost the roll off, you're just going to die because the smoke's disappeared. You're at least going to get one activation to activate your guy in the smoke and move him forward to safety. So it is going to keep him safe for the end of his turning point, and at least one activation into his next turning point, and then if you roll a 2 or a 3 on that D3, you have the opportunity to activate someone else first who might be in peril as well. Right, so that's nice. So smoke grenades are pretty cool, but it is worth noting that unless there's something else that we're not seeing here, doesn't seem to be any penalty for shooting somebody where there happens to be smoke in the way of the shot. But as long as neither of you are actually inside the smoke, there doesn't seem to be any obscuring. Now, I want to talk about smoke cloud. So I'm going to read this sentence again. This operative, the marker creates an area of smoke 1 inch horizontally and unlimited height vertically from, but not below it. The marker. So I was looking first of all at this picture over here, if you can see my mouse pointer, and wondering what the marker was, because we've got two different things. We've got the grenade with the plastic smoke modelled billowing out of it, and these are, if you look, actually slightly different shapes, I think, right? So this one has, it's almost like they've been mirrored, but presumably they have flat bottoms. So this one has like an extra knobble here and a knobble here. This one has a knobble here and a knobble here. This one has the handle going this way. This one has the handle going that way. And I was trying to work out, well, is it 1 inch from this to create a kind of almost teardrop shaped smoke template, or is it 1 inch from this, which would create a sort of a smoke sausage, right? And so I was trying to work out which plastic token the marker was. And then I saw someone online saying, actually, a Marine on a 32mm base can't stand wholly within an area of smoke if the area of smoke is a token that can't be stood on with a 1 inch border around it. So I remembered these. So we've seen this token sheet, not in this article, but we've seen this token sheet previously when they first previewed the new edition of Kill Team, and we can see that it contains smoke grenade marker and a grenade marker. So we're in this weird place where I actually think this cardboard token, which is a certain, like, it's a circle with a certain radius, we don't know yet. I'm going to guess it's a 25mm diameter marker, but we don't actually know, okay? But it's a circle anyway, so an inch from that will get you your distance at your circle, and then you can stand on it. You can stand on the thing in the middle. That means the Marine could stand in the smoke. Which, it's weird. If this ends up being, over here, the correct token for matched play, and yet they're selling you these plastic ones, but basically you can't, or you can only use these if you're playing really casually, because really you want to be using these, and trying to use these is just going to get annoying. And even then, these aren't the right size, because you technically would want another inch. Like, if as we have done with this edition of Kill Team, where everybody has swapped out their objective markers for one that show the whole range of the objective marker, if you wanted a marker that showed the whole range of the smoke, you'd want a marker with an extra inch all the way around the outside, which is a little sad that we can't use the cool sculpted tokens potentially, and it's also kind of a boon to manufacturers of thin plastic discs. By the way, I'm now a manufacturer of thin plastic discs, so those of you that have been following my live streams will know that I recently got a 3D printer. I've been printing off some branded objective markers. These are for the current edition of Kill Team. I've only done a few as like a proof of concept. I'm pretty sure that the size for an objective marker is going to actually get a little bit smaller for the next edition, so I will be redesigning these for the next edition. I am selling these in very limited quantities to people who are already channel members. So yes, they're double paywalled, effectively. Like, I don't feel good about it, but it is what it is. And yes, they work out to be quite expensive. I sell you a set of 6 for £10. If we go down to needing only 3, then obviously I can make it cheaper. But it's just a case of I'm not outsourcing this to China somewhere where they've got a little factory. I'm printing this as a little hobbyist on a hobbyist 3D printer. I get clogs and failed prints, and I had to print out loads of tests to get the finishes right and stuff. But one thing I will do for you, if you become a channel member, if you have a 3D printer of your own, you'll get this STL for free. Not just an STL, a 3MF with all the settings, and you'll also get future STLs or 3MF files for any markers that I end up making for the new objectives or for smoke grenades or anything else that needs a thin plastic disc. But not my thin plastic discs, but we're going to see a lot of people with various thin plastic discs in this edition, I think. I think the thin plastic disc thing isn't going away, and I kind of feel like Games Workshop should probably, when you get right down to it, they're a plastic company. They make plastics. You'd think they'd make their own thin plastic discs and put them in the game, rather than a token and then say, oh yeah, when you're within an inch of the token, it's going to be better to have a whole thing. Maybe that's just me, right? But channel members can have an STL file for free, or you can pay me some money and I'll mail you some thin plastic discs. Anyway, moving on from the little advert, but become a channel member, subscribe to all the things, sure. Barricades. So the barricades, I'll read the blurb first, okay? Barricades get spruced up with 2 new options to go alongside the classic waist-high walls. Heavy barricades are solid structures that can hide operatives entirely and give them the best cover around, while portable barricades can be picked up and carried around to ensure your daredevil objective grabbers don't have to charge out of the killing fields without support. You can grab one of either as your equipment selections, or 2 of the regular light barricades, with all of your operatives starting the mission with conceal orders now. Ensuring that everyone is nestled behind cover is more important than ever to escape a first-turn barrage. So, some important confirmations here. Everyone has to start on conceal, right? We thought that might be the case, but turn 1 of the exhibition match kind of got lost into time, so it was a bit hearsay, and it wasn't quite clear what was going on, and if that had just been what they'd chosen to do. So we all have to start on conceal. I will say from the rules of the 2 light barricades, we'll read this, 2 times light barricades, designed to be lugged into place and then deployed by operatives and combat engineers. These barriers are proof against small arms fire. Light barricades are light terrain. Before the battle, you can set up any of them wholly within your territory on the kill zone floor and more than 2 inches from other equipment terrain features. Now, they have to be wholly within your territory, so that's new, okay? So they're very much for depending your drop zone. So the thing is here, light barricades are light, but you get 2 for an equipment choice, or you can go for a heavy barricade, which presumably you only get 1 of, but it's heavy. Presumably it also has to be in your deployment zone, or you can get the little mantlet-looking things that are portable barricades, which are much thinner. You can only really hide 1 model behind them, but you can move them in some way. We don't know exactly how that's going to work. Now, what's interesting, given everything I just rambled on about wanting to not use the smoke grenade markers and replace them with thin plastic discs, it looks like for these, the barricades, you'll want to use these exact pieces of plastic because the exact measurements and the heights and everything will be what you need. So these things from your set, you kind of want. Now, I'm sure people will make third-party ones, but there have to be clones of these exact shapes. These will be the exact miniatures that you'll want to represent these things. Okay. To me, barricades seem less useful than grenades in concept, right? I've been playing recently a lot with Nemesis Claw in the current edition, and it's come to the play barricade step, and I've just been looking at the barricades going, I don't really want these. So it is going to depend on the official maps. Maybe because they've got all these barricades now, and people can take, you could potentially have, if we assume you can't double up on things, but you could potentially take 2 light barricades and a heavy barricade and a portable barricade, right? So maybe the maps will be set up in such a way to incentivize the fact that you need a couple of barricades to keep your deployment zone safe, right? Maybe safe deployment zones are not going to be a given in the official map pack. But I think it's also going to depend on the size of your team. It's going to be easier to hide 6 Marines than it's going to be to hide 14 Vet Guard on the same map layout, right? So there are some variables there, but I do think grenades are likely to me, again, and I'm not an amazing player of Kill Team, but I think grenades seem like they're going to be the right call between grenades and barricades. We've also got a little bit of information on ladders and razor wire, so I'll read the pros here. If you need your marksmen to climb a vantage point, but don't want to waste their precious first turn on dashing to the nearest wall, ladders are the gift that keeps on giving. Place one next to a raised platform, and your operatives only spend a single inch of movement to reach the next floor, letting them zip up into position with a whole APL, free to get busy with the long arms. Of course, if you'd rather prevent people from moving around, opt for the tried and tested simplicity of razor wire. 38 millennia of wartime ingenuity still haven't overcome how annoying it is to climb over spools of sharp spikes, and your opponent's operatives will need to spend double the movement getting over it. It's interesting to me they've called it razor wire. If you look at the model, it seems to be barbed wire, and barbed wire is more British, but anyway. That's razor wire or barbed wire. Let me know in the comments. Ladders seem like they could be really very good, depending on the map and depending on exactly how they work. If you can move them around and deploy them from any of your models when you happen to need one, and you look at the buildings and see which way they're facing. They look pretty great. They look like a contender versus grenades or something else that you'd quite often want to pick. I was curious to know what the exact rules are for placing them, and I don't really understand why in the kit they give you this collapsed ladder, because I don't think they're going to go against their thing. I don't think you're going to have to put this next to a miniature to be like, this guy's got the ladder. I think all your models are going to have ladders, and you're just going to be allowed to deploy a ladder from anyone, right, if they follow what they've said they're doing with everything else. So not quite sure on that. So we need to see some nuance there, but the ladders seem pretty cool. Razor wire seems really quite good for stopping people, double movement to get over it. Seems pretty cool. But again, if it's like the barricades where it's just in your deployment zone, maybe that's less useful. Like, I don't know that turtling up in your drop zone is going to be that much of a viable tactic. But then again, maybe if there's kill ops, if the primary is worth much less, and if you can have a secondary that you can achieve while turtling, maybe they're going to try and make turtling a valid playstyle. Like, I remember in the very first video, Elliot did say something about, like, if you want to be aggressive, if you want to do this, even if you just want to sit in your drop zone and try and shoot up. So maybe they're trying to make turtling a valid playstyle. I don't know. But that razor wire, for me, it's going to depend on how it's placed. But that's interesting. The last little thing that we've seen is they're talking about comms devices, mines, and ammo stashes. And all they said was, there's still more to dig in through this awesome little kit. Comms devices, mines, and ammo stashes among them. And it'll be arriving alongside the new rules later this year. Make sure to check out the rest of our coverage, blah, 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 blah. Now, it says among them, but from the picture we've shown, these are literally the only things they haven't explained, right? So, we've got the comms device here, the mines, and the ammo stashes. We've not got any word on what they do. If I was to guess, I would guess that the mines work maybe a lot like the Phobos mine, where you lay a mine token. If somebody stands on it, it explodes and hurts them in some way. Decent guess, because that's what a mine is. Ammo stashes? Don't know. There's no kind of ammo check or out of ammo style rule in Kill Team at present, so maybe you get to promote a hit to a crit if you're within range of an ammo stash, something like that. And the radio, I mean, at the moment, what radios on like comms troopers dish out APL, so maybe it's a way of buying in a comms. If you have somebody, you put down a radio marker like in your base, and then if somebody's within an inch of the radio marker, they can, they can spend an action point to dish out an APL as if you had a commsman on the team, right? So it's like a commsman, but if he moves away from the radio, he loses the ability to be a comms. I can see that, but it's a weird one because most of the teams without comms are Space Marines, and most of the teams that desperately don't want to put one of their 6 dudes standing in their deployment zone on a radio are Space Marines. So we really need to see what that does and how useful it turns out being. But what I would say is it looks from the cardboard token set like these certainly look like mines to me. These certainly look like ammo crates, and maybe these 2 poking out here are little like Jodrell Bank looking things, like little comms satellite dishes, right? All the Americans don't know what Jodrell Bank is. It's like a British radio telescope, okay? So they look like radio telescopes, okay? Go and Google Jodrell Bank, you'll learn something. And then what I would say is that's more things that would actually be better being a third-party thin plastic disc, right? Potentially that have whatever this is, however many millimeter this is in the center, plus an inch, and then the whole thing is a disc. Which it's just sad that potentially like half the set is going to be suboptimal. I think it's probably less important if this is a 3-dimensional thing compared to like a smoke field. But even so, it's just a weird one, GW. That you've made these 3D markers for, and they have form for doing this. For years they've made 3-dimensional objective markers for 40k, and then the rules haven't actually supported 3-dimensional markers. I actually like the concept of 3-dimensional markers, like for, make them official cool plastic 3-dimensional markers, and then make the radius around them bigger. That's one way of doing it, but if the rules kind of want this sort of thing, people are going to want to play with that sort of thing. Let me know. So final thoughts, final thoughts. Because I'm late for my Tale of Six Gamers meeting by about 10 minutes, so I'm going to get told off. Final thoughts. My take on this is that grenades are king. But if you disagree, let me know. I said in the chat again, I mean in the comments. I only live stream once a week on Wednesdays. Let me know in the comments. Let me know as well, am I being a weird stick in the mud for suggesting half of the lovely 3D markers may end up being more usefully replaced by thin plastic discs? Like, I'm not actually like a try-hard tournament gamer who hopes to podium, but I just like the game to be being played in the most, like properly, if that makes sense. I just like the feeling that things are being done properly, and if I'm right about all these various bits and pieces, it's going to annoy me if people want to use the 3-dimensional tokens, and I feel guilty about that. Like, if somebody's painted a lovely billowing smoke cloud, I've tied myself into knots. Let me know, reassure me, or tell me that I'm wrong and I should let people use their lovingly painted 3-dimensional smoke clouds. Like, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, and do consider subscribing. If you're not subscribed and you've watched this far, you obviously like my style, so the subscription would really help me. Consider channel membership, okay? Consider joining the Discord. And I want to say a big thank you to all my members. That's all the people who regularly support the channel with financial contributions. Alright guys, thank you so much. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be off to Turning Point Tactics at the weekend, so I won't be around. There is a video that's going to go up that members have already seen about the latest hobby challenge, so hopefully you enjoy watching that. But if they drop any hot news on Friday or over the weekend, I'm not going to be able to cover it until I get back on Sunday night. Okay, so sorry about that. All right, chew bye, have a good one. Bye guys, bye, goodbye, bye.